I was surprised by Israel's surprise attack. Maybe I shouldn't have been. The attack on Iran has been on Netanyahu's agenda for 30 years, absolutely, almost on a daily basis. It's been an obsession of Netanyahu for uh, Israel to pull the United States into a war against Iran. At the same time, remember that just before this attack started by Israel, the U.S. Had announced that negotiations between the U.S. and Iran would take place on Sunday. That is a couple of days ago, as we speak now, on Tuesday, the 17th of June, that there would be negotiations, that negotiations were proceeding, that they were making progress. And so the attack came in the context of public statements about a negotiating process that not only was underway, but that was reported in positive terms as making progress. So the question in the very narrow sense is, was it all a subterfuge to have Iran drop its guard so that Israel could attack? Was instead Netanyahu acting independently and then pulling Trump in by Netanyahu's understanding of Israel's dominant control of U.S. foreign policy? We don't know these things for sure. We speculate on the outside. We can say that government these days in the U.S. and Europe and Israel are shambolic. Everything that's said publicly is a lie in one sense or another. Nothing is explained clearly. Nothing is explained honestly. There is no consistency day to day. There is no attempt even at consistency. When the Israeli attack started, Trump didn't say, well, this was a surprise. He said, we knew about it, but we weren't part of it. He didn't make any allusion to the fact that negotiations were to take place 3 days later. There isn't an attempt to speak to the public as adults or in a rational way. This is a small group, gangsters basically, that are fighting over their gangster turf. The rest of us are spectators, wondering when the bombs will drop in our neighborhood, when loved ones someplace will be killed. We're not participants at all of this other than as observers. Interestingly, when Trump left the G7 meeting and Macron stated apparently that Trump was going back to Washington to make a ceasefire, Trump's answer was, he doesn't know anything about what I'm doing. Speaking about Macron, I have something much bigger than a ceasefire going on. This is the president of the United States publicly redressing the president of France, with whom he was just meeting, in a public tweet or public posting, excuse me, that shows that even in this supposed rarefied circle of nuclear powers, they're gangsters. They don't talk to each other, even themselves, in an honest way. So, Glenn, I just have to start by apologizing to you and to everybody. I don't know the answer to any of this. What I can say unequivocally is that the Israeli plan underway to go to war with Iran is very long-standing. That has not been hidden from view. That's been Netanyahu's greatest dream since 1996. Netanyahu's philosophy and approach is dominate the Middle East, use Israel's nuclear monopoly in the region to bludgeon, kill, assassinate, overthrow any government that opposes Israel's actions. what is the end purpose of all of this? The end purpose seems to be to allow Israel to define its own borders in any way that it chooses, as expansively as it chooses. One might have said, and I write nonstop, that the way that it chooses to define its own borders is complete control over the territory of British Mandatory Palestine, meaning that Israel would have full control over Israel, Gaza, the West Bank, and East Jerusalem. But this may be naive because part of Israel, religious fanatics, look to early passages in the Bible, in the Hebrew Old Testament, saying that God promised the land essentially from the Nile to the Euphrates, or maybe from the Red Sea to the Euphrates, depending on interpretation, but that in any event, the claim is much larger than even mandatory Palestine. Israel today occupies parts of Lebanon, parts of Syria, all of mandatory Palestine, and we don't know where it is supposed to end, but the basic doctrine of Netanyahu is that's Israel's choice, not anybody else's choice, and that when push comes to shove, the United States will back Israel's choice because the United States is basically under the control of a Zionist Christian and Jewish and Israeli lobby that will come to run to support Israel's actions. We're watching this play out in an astounding way. Israel this year has been at war in Gaza, the West Bank, Lebanon, Syria, and Iran. You know, you just can't make this up. This is a nonstop war. I'll add one more thing in this long-winded answer to your opening question, and that is, what is their theory of war? The theory of war is distinctive. Israel is a small place. It's got less than 10 million people, or about 10 million people. Uh, Iran has more than 90 million people. What is the theory? The theory is assassination and regime change. So the idea is decapitation rather than on the ground military invasion. The idea is get rid of Saddam Hussein and Iraq becomes an Israeli vassal. Get rid of Muammar Gaddafi and Libya becomes an Israeli vassal. Get rid of the great leader, and then Iran serves Israel's purpose. This by itself is a kind of madness. This is a true insanity. And we don't have to look further than the results of Netanyahu's wars. Did Libya fall into shape? No. Libya fell into nonstop violence since 2011, into open war, not into vassalhood of Israel. Did Somalia fall into place as Israel wanted? No. Somalia fell into chaos. Did Sudan fall into place when America overthrew the Sudanese government by supporting the South Sudan rebellion? No. Amazingly, Sudan not only fell into two, but each of those two parts is in civil war today. Did Lebanon stabilize? No. Did Syria stabilize? Well, it's, yes, maybe now a jihadist state under Israel control temporarily. That seems to be the case. Did Iraq? No. Saddam Hussein's departure did not create a vassal state, although it created an occupied state. So the theory of change is assassination and decapitation, Mossad-led rather than on the ground. And I think that this is the theory of a change for Iran as well.
To burn down what was there and hope that something better will come in place.
Well, not just hope, they believe in their arrogance that they can run the show. History has shown And this was you know, a, the classic understanding from World War II onward. Aerial bombardment does not lead to regime change, first of all. And second, even if you do assassinate leaders, maybe you can postpone or delay their actions a bit, but you don't get the kind of political control that you believe that you will.